Well, that's it. 82 games in the books. The Pittsburgh Penguins season has come to a close, as has Jeff Carter's career. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now and the National Hockey Now YouTube page. I'm slouching a little bit. Not a lot of great places in the UBS arena. I could put a period there, but not a lot of great places in the UBS arena to do this video. Penguins lose 5-4. Jeff Carter scores the big goal to tie it at 4. But if there's any organization or any team that has broken the Penguins' hearts consistently throughout the rivalry, it is the Islanders, and they get the kind of a meaningless win for both teams. But let's maybe just talk quickly before we get to the Q&A, all of your questions. The Penguins showed a bit of spirit, showed a bit of heart, the momentum that they built coming into the final game, which was just that close to being for a playoff spot. It kept going. Talked to P.O. Joseph on, what day is today? Wednesday morning. And he's like, yeah, we've got some momentum, and it does feel good around here. And that was a huge difference from where the Penguins were 12 months ago. Remember how dark and how bleak and how miserable and how otherwise putrid last season was. Or how it ended, anyway. With just gimme games given away time and again down the stretch. And the Penguins missed the playoffs. This year they put on an extraordinary charge. And if you don't think that organizations have momentum that even carries from season to season, you're wrong, because that momentum the Penguins, or the negative momentum the Penguins built last season, that stench carried over into this season. Who knows when it really cleared up? Perhaps it was when they traded Jake Gensel and the team truly hit granite. They hit rock bottom, dug a few feet further, and then everything changed. Sidney Crosby changed the team this season. I really don't feel much like talking about the game on Wednesday. The Penguins were spirited. I thought Alex Nedeljkovic was really good, actually, despite giving up 5 goals. Off defenseman skates, good rips. This game was never going to be a tight, checking, hard-fought game. It meant nothing for either team other than showing well. It was kind of like a high-stakes preseason game in that regard. It has been an extraordinary season. For me, personally, I'm not sure if I covered more games than anybody. Taylor Haas might have edged me out by a game or two. If not, I beat her by a game or two. Both of us did over 70 games this year, and I don't mind mentioning the competition. She did yeoman's work, and hopefully you think I did as well. Jeff Carter. I guess I should get to Jeff Carter before we get to the Q&A section. The maligned, corkscrewed, just scapegoat Jeff Carter. After he was scratched in Los Angeles, I'm sorry, not Los Angeles, Anaheim. Remember that California trip? And he showed just courage and forthrightness, coming out to talk to the media in his dank hallway lit by what looked like emergency lights at this practice facility in Anaheim. And I remember him having to answer that question. So, Jeff, you're a healthy scratch for the first time in your career. And make no mistake, he kind of brought that on himself. He was not playing well. He was not fulfilling his role as the Penguins needed. So, in November, Mike Sullivan made the very difficult choice. Necessity brought Carter back into the lineup with some serendipity in Los Angeles, where Carter won 2 Stanley Cups. And it really seemed like it was almost meant to be. I thought Jeff Carter was good. He fulfilled his role as well as anybody could for the remainder of the season. 11 goals, outscoring everybody but Lars Eller in the bottom 6, I believe, unless you count Riley Smith in that. But otherwise, penalty killer, dominant in faceoffs. The team made a beeline for his locker stall after the game, and I think the announcement maybe caught us by surprise. He only told a few teammates until, I think everyone found out last night after their season was effectively over because of the Detroit point and the Washington win. I think he let the word out. He said, I've known for some time. Fair enough. He's going to stay in Pittsburgh. He is not taking any jobs. I guess I can tell this story here before the Q&A too. This summer, a reader tipped us off because Pittsburgh is such a small town, right? Everyone knows everybody's business. And a reader excitedly said, hey, Jeff Carter's buying a house Jeff Carter is selling a house. So I kind of texted members in the Penguins organization and said, hey, I'm getting, people are chattering around the neighborhood that Jeff Carter is selling his house. Can you give me any insights? Or they said, Dan, players buy and sell houses all the time. Jeff was actually buying a house for his family. So he'd sell one to buy the other. And that's just some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And I'm quite glad they shared that with me, because it would have been a story with the chattering around the neighborhood and all of that sort of thing. Carter was a cool guy to deal with. Didn't deal with us much. I think I talked to him 3 or 4 times this season. I was joking with him a couple of weeks ago. Like, man, I never catch you. He's like, hey, I'm always here. No, he was typically, done with his work and on to the locker or on to the exercise room or wherever we don't have access to. But he always did it with a smile. And I won't forget the quote from last year. I forget where we were. Might have been Columbus or somewhere down the stretch. He really had a great game, scores a big goal. And I said, hey, a little bit of vindication for you. He's like, hey, listen, I don't care what you guys write. Fair enough. Let's get to the Q&A. There, I dropped it. All right, Melissa asks, why won't writers vote for Sid for MVP? Actually, I think Sid will be top 5 for the Hart Trophy this year. I was not given a vote despite covering more than 70 games. We're not getting into that. They don't give you, we're not getting into it. How's that? And I would have put Sid in my top 3, though I would have voted for Nathan McKinnon to win the award. I don't know if Sid will make top 3, but clearly I think he has to make top 5. Had the Penguins made the playoffs, yeah, definitely top 3. But now, otherwise, yeah, I think he'll finish 5th in the voting. Tyler asks if Carter is staying in Pittsburgh. Yes. Is he staying in the organization? No, not yet. He wants to go home, be a dad, see what real life is like. Listen, hockey season is 8 months long. You start training in, early September. You really, in earnest begin in early September, and it doesn't end if you make the playoffs until June. May, June. That's a lot of family time lost. And for a 38-year-old with some younger children, I think he's going to go coach some hockey. Maybe just watch some youth hockey, have dinner with the family, and enjoy the fruits of a 19-year career. Let's see here. Tyler also asked, what are Dubas's top 3 priorities into the offseason? I'm going to marinate on this, so I'm going to change my answer over the coming days and weeks. But just off the top of my head, Tyler, I think he has to add middle 6 scoring. Me personally, I would put a significant center on that list. Take some pressure off of Genny Malkin. He had a great rebound in the last few weeks of the season, but for the first 5 months, it looked like he was coming to the end. I mean, let's be honest about it. He didn't have that step and that snap and the verve and all of those things that make Malkin great they were diminished. So I don't think you can count on a soon-to-be 38-year-old Evgeny Malkin to be a cornerstone pillar prime contributor next season with the wear and tear that being a center in the National Hockey League presents. That's my opinion. I haven't heard that from anybody on the other side, in the organization. I think I've been on that for a little while, and there will be a couple of guys on the free agent market, presumably, who will fit that bill, like Elias Lindholm. We'll see. So I also think Dubas's other priority will be, I guess we'll keep it to the roster for now. I really do think he just needs to solidify that middle six. Fourth liners can come cheap, and you can find the right, mix and match in the bargain bin. But he has to make the middle six more competitive. They can't lose that battle as they did for most of the season. Whether he improves the defense in the middle six, improves the offense, it's got to improve. I mean, Lars Eller was the only guy in the middle six who I think scored at the rate appropriate to his role. Eller had, 18 goals? Everybody else was behind what you would have expected. That includes Ricard Raquel, especially Riley Smith. And I suppose Drew O'Connor was kind of in the middle six, although is he top line? I don't know. That's maybe a position to look at if you slide O'Connor down with Malkin or down to the third line with Eller next season. Then you do need a top wing. It's going to be interesting because we don't yet know all of the free agents available. There's going to be some teams that decide somebody is superfluous, like Vegas did with Riley Smith, who come available that we don't yet see coming. So all of those things, I can't give you too many specifics, but those are the positions to look at for next season, Tyler. Robert Fisher says, will Blomqvist be on the roster next season? 50-50. I really think maybe they want to, but do you bring him up? That creates quite a few number of issues, doesn't it? You don't want a kid in his stage of his development sitting around. You also don't want your $5.375 million goalie sitting around, as Tristan Jarry did for the last month. Do you want Alex Nedeljkovic back? This really did become Alex Nedeljkovic's team. I mean, full stop, since March 22nd. Then March 24th was the Avalanche game when he started, and they had the 4-0 lead, and then that's when Nedeljkovic's start streak began. It really did become his team, and I wrote about that on Wednesday, Pittsburgh Hockey Now. What starting Nedeljkovic over Jarry, despite Nedeljkovic's pending unrestricted free agent status, meant. I think that meant a lot. So let's see here. Oh, Robert also asks, will Ryan Graves be traded? Can he? I honestly don't know. I don't know how others around the league see Ryan Graves. This kind of comes under the heading, all of our bad players for all of your good players. Clearly, Graves had a miserable season with the Penguins. He truly isn't that bad. He's not close to as bad as he was with the Penguins this season. So will another GM see an opportunity to buy on the cheap? That's entirely possible. If another GM comes calling, I think Dubas would be wise to sell. The Penguins' defense improved without Graves in the lineup. It's harsh to say with somebody who had a concussion, but reality is reality. And Ryan Shea, for his limitations with Jack St. Ivany, those guys provided stable, reliable defense. They protected the net. They helped the team win. And there's no reason that couldn't continue into next season as a third pairing with a little bit of shelter. Sure, absolutely. But Robert also asked, and here this kind of ties it all together, should the Penguins pursue a top-flight left-handed defenseman, a top pairing guy? And I say no. I say you look at P.O. Joseph's work with Chris Letang. You leave it alone. You just stick those two guys together. You leave that alone. If you go out and get a top-flight left-handed defenseman, it will cost more than a pretty penny. It probably costs about 3 of them. That's draft picks, that's prospect capital, that's a massive salary cap hit. If you can keep P.O. Joseph at the, he's obviously not going to be an expensive guy next season, that's money you can spend elsewhere. And that's all I got to say about that. Puck U says old teams don't win. There is some truth to that, since the 2002 Hall of Fame laden Red Wings laid waste to everyone. Really, in this salary cap era, the young teams, old teams do not win. How does Dubas make the team better? I don't know. I'm sure he's going to try. Obviously, the changes we've talked about, I think solidifying the middle six. I think finding more salary cap space to maximize the potential moves via free agency and trades. Cap space is going to be the Penguins' friend. The more they can get, the faster they can retool. Getting cap space in the first part of the offseason to then spend it or stockpile it into next season is how Dubas, I think, will succeed. EGM. Will the coaching staff stay intact? Mike Sullivan is probably a 99 of 100% shot to come back. Mike Vellucci. Look, the penalty kill was top 10. Penalty kill was pretty good all year long, despite, mix and match bargain bin guys out there hustling, and they did pretty well. I mean, look, Drew O'Connor adapted to that role, and Jeff Carter adapted to that role. I think Vellucci, however, will get a head coaching job. There's plenty out there. He's been kind of just a finalist for a few jobs over the last couple of seasons. Hi. So what happens with Vellucci? I think he gets a head coaching job. If he doesn't, I think he's back. Todd Reardon is the guy that is probably in real trouble. The power play's continued struggles. Call it a scapegoat, call it necessary. You can use whatever adjective you like. He's the guy in trouble. And Dale asks, Tristan Jarry's future? Shake that magic 8 ball one more time. Answer unclear. I think that's a real conversation that they need to have with Jarry about why he was benched for a month. Read that story on PHN. I got a great screen grab of the game in Dallas when he stared down somebody, whether it was the bench, whether it was a specific teammate, or a girl in the front row. I can't say for sure, but the icy glare that he shot towards the bench, in that direction anyway, was obvious. That needs to be addressed and discussed, and I think he'll get a say in his future too. All right, 82 games. As the MASH farewell was titled, farewell, amen, goodbye. From UBS Arena, I'm Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now and the National Hockey Now YouTube channel. Okay, real quick as I walk towards the train to get home this evening, I've got the one question from Flying Pig. My 3 favorite personal moments from covering the 23-24 NHL season. The Jaromir Jagr stuff almost is too easy. That doesn't count. So I'll tell you, maybe in no particular order, is my favorite speakeasy in Vancouver, that little Italian restaurant, Zaffelli's or Zarelli's, or it's a second floor little spot with an old beat up steel door. You have to kind of know where it's at. Just makes me happy to go there. It's not a moment, but I guess upon reflection, look, everyone thinks Pittsburgh media hates each other, and listen, for a while it was pretty true. It was all really contentious and tense. This person is mad at that person, this outlet mad at that outlet, as we all kind of fought for our space. But really, the 4 or so people who have covered the team in earnest every day on the road, at home, we've really, I think, formed a pretty good bond, a collegial bond this year. From Andrew Weston and Matt Venzel at the PG, and Taylor with DK, Josh Yohe at the Athletic. I think the 4 of us really, because we were the traveling party most of the time, it was nice. We went out for drinks numerous times, and dinner, and all those sorts of things, helping each other out. Hey, I've got this video. Here's a transcription. I think we put a lot of buried a lot of hatchets. Did we this year? So that's number 2. That's really kind of a nice feeling where it's not so tense going to work every day, and you have to elbow through somebody or worrying about someone putting a knife in your back and all of that sort of stuff. It's been good moving forward. And number 3, I think my interview with Riley Smith, I feel like I kind of put an end to that narrative that Riley Smith hates Pittsburgh and all of that. Listen, maybe he didn't have a great season. I think that's fair to say. But I feel like I at least put it on a hockey trajectory rather than a personal trajectory when I did the interview, and he's called it, that's someone's baseless opinion. I feel like I affected coverage and perceptions for the better. I liked that. I felt like that was the truth. Maybe he's not a happy-go-lucky guy. Takes one to know one sometimes. And so those were my 3. Thanks, Flying Pig. I will see you back all in Pittsburgh. Have fun.